Well, there's lots of fear and gnashing of teeth and consternation about the possibility of war, of possibly World War III starting up soon. And again, I don't see it happening, guys. Um, it's not that I think the fears of it are illegitimate, because you do have saber rattling going on with high stakes, nuclear stakes, and that's not good. Um, but there's no will for war among the population uh, of Western countries, among the populations of countries that war would be demanded of, if they were to to really go all out, if they were to decide uh, we need regime change in Iran, just like we needed regime change in Iraq, and that went so well, so let's try it again. If they're really stupid enough to do that, um, and I don't think they are. Maybe not because they don't want to, but just because they know there's no will for it. Um, but if they try, it's going to fail, uh, and it will fail bigly. To quote someone, it will be a massive failure. Um, I remember, I'm old enough to remember the first Gulf War, um, in the early 90s. That was controversial, but there was a will for it. There was, among some people, even though, the it was really nothing more than a territorial dispute between two nations that the United States shouldn't have had anything to do with. Uh, the Iraq and Kuwait, but they're because of oil and because of this and that reason. There was eventually the war to liberate Kuwait. That was the first Gulf War, and there was it was controversial, but there was enough of a public support for the war, and you definitely had what would later be called red state people, Joe Sixpack type of people, um, supporting that war. Support our troops. That was the thing. You've got to. They didn't actually come out and say support the war. It was support our troops, which is an end around. It's like saying we're not saying we're pro-war, but if you're against the war, then you're not supporting our troops. That was that specious bit of disingenuous rhetoric that was employed at the time, and it worked. As far as there was support for a war, and the war happened, and then 10 years later, after 9/11, and what was understood to be the cause of 9/11, who were understood to be the perpetrators of 9/11, and how that was supposedly how that got to be linked to anyone in the Arab world who neoconservatives wanted to depose, and saw this as an opportunity to depose. Well, again, it was controversial. The war in Iraq was controversial to invade a country and impose a regime change. That was quite a bit more ambitious of an idea than just pushing Iraqi forces out of Kuwait, which is what Gulf War I was about. But there was still public support because of 9/11. There was still this whole we've got to all work together. This is about America fighting back because we were attacked. Never mind that the United States attacked all these other countries and deposed all of these and imposed all these coups in all these other places and did all manner of harm across the world prior to that. Never mind that. People didn't think in that way. For them, it was plain and simple. We were minding our own business, and then we were attacked, and now it was time to get some payback, right? And first there was the war in Afghanistan, and the deposing of the Taliban, and then came Iraq, and people were like, okay, yeah, we're down for that. And again, there was a public will. There was enough of a public will that had the support of it. But today, it's just not there. There's no groundswell of support for war. Not among Joe Sixpack type of people. Not among the so-called salt of the earth types, not among red state types. None of them are jonesing for war right now with Iran. That's not what they're concerned about. There's been a major realignment, politically speaking. And so much of, what used to be the popular right, the right-wing opinion of the masses, which was generally speaking pro-war. Any war that America gets into is worthwhile, especially if it's a Republican president who imposes it, which was sort of the mentality all through the 90s and into the aughts. Well, now that's not the case anymore. Now, isolationism, as its enemies call it, I call it non-interventionism. Non-interventionism is the default. It's the prevalent attitude among the same types of people, among the same crowd of people who were saying bomb the Arabs, get payback for what they did to us on 9/11. Those people aren't saying those kinds of things now. They're saying we don't want a war. We don't want our boys to die on in the Middle East over something that has absolutely nothing to do with us. We've got problems at home. Let's address the problems at home. America first, right, Mr. President? Isn't that what you said? America first. And as far when it comes to Europe, Western European countries, it's even more of a farce there. They want to build a war economy and wage war against Russia. And Russia's allied with Iran. So, in a way that's part of the same deal, that's picking at the same scabs. That's the same kind of brinksmanship, World War III brinksmanship. But that's it's laughable because nobody in those countries trusts their leadership anymore. They know that their leaders don't give a shit about them. They just want to flood their country with illegal immigrants, and mock them for not liking it. They know that people like Macron and the other leaders of European countries now, generally speaking, are not on their side. And as far as a will to go to war, even the ones who are supportive of globalism aren't going to go to war. They aren't going to strap on gear and go off into a war zone like Ukraine, and there's no gumption there. There's no will to fight. It's just not happening. It's a non-starter. That's what I think. What do y'all think?